Haribol, Namaste. Welcome everyone to Yoga Kirtan Hawaii's Yoga Wisdom Bhagavad-gita class evening tonight. Thank you for joining us. So my name is Bhagavad Das, and I'll be your host this evening. And my wife Radhisham Dasi will be joining us in just a few minutes. So Yoga Kirtan Hawaii, we're a Oahu, Hawaii-based yoga organization, and you can find us at yogakirtanhawaii.com and also on Facebook and Instagram. And obviously, you found us on Facebook if you're watching this. So Yoga Kirtan Hawaii, we offer different kinds of programs, classes, and events, including Hatha Yoga, Kirtan, meditation classes, and vegan dinners, although no vegan dinners right now for obvious reasons, which hopefully we'll be able to start up again sometime soon. So all the events that Yoga Kirtan Hawaii offers are free or donation based, and we're currently holding regular events on Facebook Live, and you can go to our website or Facebook page or Instagram to see the calendar of events. There's pretty much something happening almost every day. So Yoga Kirtan Hawaii is the outreach arm of the Science of Identity Foundation, and the Science of Identity Foundation was founded by my spiritual teacher, Jagatguru Siddhasarupananda Paramahansa, and Jagatguru is a disciple of His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami. And they're coming in a long line of spiritual teachers known as the Brahma, Madhva, Gaudya Sampradaya. And so Brahma, Madhva, and Gaudya is referring to various illustrious personalities who have passed on these different yoga wisdom teachings that we'll be sharing with you tonight. And so the word Sampradaya refers to a lineage, so a lineage of different teachers, so from one teacher to the next, passing on these yoga wisdom teachings. So the program tonight, initially we'll have some kirtan, and then I'll give a yoga wisdom class where I give a brief introduction to the Bhagavad-gita, and then I'll give a class on a particular verse. And tonight I'll be speaking on Bhagavad-gita chapter 15, text 7, and then we'll have a short kirtan to end the program. And so we should be finished around 8:15 p.m. or so. So initially, as I mentioned, we'll start with a kirtan. And kirtan is the chanting of transcendental sound vibrations or mantras or sacred sounds. And the word mantra is a Sanskrit word. Man refers to the mind, and tra means to draw away. So a mantra is a transcendental sound vibration which draws the mind away from this temporary material dimension and takes us into a transcendental or spiritual world or dimension. So in these mantras or sacred sounds, they're almost like a transcendental lifeline or a transcendental wave. So they're a lifeline that can pull us, that we can grab hold of and be pulled out of this temporary material dimension with, or they're like a transcendental wave that we can ride. In Hawaii, a famous place for surfing. So riding transcendental waves is a nice analogy. And so we can, by grabbing hold of these mantras as a transcendental lifeline or riding them as a transcendental wave, we can go to the spiritual world, which is known as Vaikuntha. And the word Vaikuntha means no anxiety. So the spiritual world is a world of no anxiety, whereas this current world is one full of anxiety and worry and concerns. So the process of kirtan can help us leave this world of anxiety and go to the spiritual world. So the mantras themselves, the names of the Supreme Person or words spoken by him or about him. And tonight we'll be chanting the mantra Gopala, Govinda, Rama, Madana Mohana. Gopala, Govinda, Rama, Madana Mohana. And so as we chant the mantras, so try and focus your mind upon the sound, upon the transcendental sound vibration. So try not to think of whatever else may be going on around you, or what may be happening in your life right now, or what's happening in society, or anything like that. Just try and rest your heart and mind on the transcendental sound of the mantra Gopala, Govinda, Rama, Madana Mohana. And just, if you find your mind wandering, just try and bring it back to the sound. Focus upon the transcendental sound. So we can actually, we can rest in this transcendental sound, just as I'm sitting in this armchair, my back resting against the backrest and the pillow, and my arms on the arms of the chair. Similarly, you can rest in this transcendental sound. You can feel quite comfortable. It's like when I'm sitting in this chair, I don't have to worry that I'm going to fall off the chair, or the chair's going to tip over, or something terrible is going to happen. No, I can take shelter and rest in this chair. And similarly, you can take shelter in and rest in the transcendental sound vibrations. So Kirtan is done in a call and response way. A person leads, and then we all listen, and then we respond. And so my wife, Radhisham Dasi, she's our Kirtan leader, so she will lead, and as she's leading, we listen, and then we respond.
Hello everyone, thanks for joining us. We hope you have a nice, relaxing evening listening to these sacred sounds. Gopala Govinda Rama Madana Mohana Gopala Govinda Rama Madana Mohana Radha said I didn't have to
No,
do
no.
it. For goodness sake. Don't say I don't have to do it if I do.
Haribol, namaste. So now we're going to have the yoga wisdom portion of this tonight's program. And so before I speak on yoga wisdom, first I'd like to offer my respects unto my spiritual teacher, Jagaguru Siddhaswarupananda Paramahansa, who has introduced me to and taught me this yoga wisdom. And also I'd like to offer my respects or namaste to all of you. Thank you for coming and listening, and I hope what I'll be passing on to you is helpful for you and enlightening. So firstly I'm just going to give a bit of a background to the Bhagavad-gita. So Srimad Bhagavad-gita, Srimad means beautiful, Bhagavad refers to Bhagavan, the Supreme Person, and the word Bhagavan means full of all opulences. So Bhaga is opulence and Van means full. So, and Gita means song or hymn. So as a whole it means Srimad Bhagavad-gita means the beautiful song or hymn of Bhagavan, the Supreme Person. So Srimad Bhagavad-gita is a yoga text, and it forms part of the Vedic literature of ancient India. And Bhagavad-gita itself is comprised of 700 Sanskrit verses, and 574 of these verses are spoken by Shri Krishna or Lord Krishna. So this Bhagavad-gita is part of a much larger text known as the Mahabharata. So Maha means great and Bharata is the name of India. So this Mahabharata is the story of great India. And this Mahabharata, it's known as, it's what's called an itihasa, or a history. And this Mahabharata was compiled by Vedavyasa, who's also known as Vyasadeva. And this Mahabharata consists of 100,000 verses. And which is, of course, very long. Like it's longer than the great Greek classics, the Odyssey and the Iliad, which combined together are only 1/4 of the length of the Mahabharata. So it's a very lengthy work. In fact, in the Mahabharata, it says within itself, it's, everything is in the Mahabharata, and if it's not here, then it's not anywhere. It's such an extensive work. And so in essence, like there's, as with many Vedic literatures, and the word Veda, or Vedic comes from the word Veda, and Veda means knowledge. And so there are many different Vedic literatures, but the Mahabharata is known, as I mentioned, an itihasa or history, and it's something that appeals to everyone, to the common people. Like the Vedas and many of the Vedic literatures themselves are very philosophical and very difficult to understand for common people. It's just like trying to read, when I went to school, my headmaster came in one day and he gave us a philosophy class, and he referred to Bertrand Russell and read a page out of one of his books. So anyway, so Bertrand Russell is, kind of like a prominent philosopher. But if you read his book, it's like, oh my God, this is like just so hard to read. It's like so difficult, It's like to kind of, to try and concentrate your mind and understand this philosophy or the subject of philosophy. It's just so difficult. People study philosophy at university. One of my sons, went to UH, and actually he studied religion there, but one of the courses he took was on philosophy. And so I had to look at some of his textbooks, and it's like, oh my God, this is like so dry and difficult to read. It's like, anyway, very difficult. I'm sure you can all relate to how difficult it can be. So the Mahabharata is not like this. It's a great rollicking story, and the story revolves around a struggle between two halves of one family, or the two halves of a dynasty. So they were royalty or emperors, and on one side there is what a group of 5 brothers known as the Pandavas. Panda means 5. So there's 5 brothers, and Pancha means 5, but there was 5 brothers, and they were also the sons of Maharaj Pandu. And then on the opposing side, there was Duryodhana and his 99 brothers. And Duryodhana is like the villain of the story, and he, is trying to take the kingdom from the Maharaj Yudhisthira, who's the head of the Pandavas, the eldest of the 5 brothers. So Duryodhana is trying to take this kingdom away from Maharaj Yudhisthira. Maharaj Yudhisthira is the virtuous and wise ruler, the upholder of morality and ethics. Could never tell a lie. Was always concerned about doing the right thing, which is known in Sanskrit as dharma. The dharma means duty and responsibility, and doing the right thing. Actually, when I was a boy growing up in Australia, they had this big campaign about do the right thing, and even on the trash cans, in Australia we call them rubbish bins. Anyway, on the trash cans there was this sign, and it would say do the right thing, and the idea was pick up your trash and stick it in the trash can, right? This is the responsible thing to do. Don't leave your trash for someone else to pick up, right? So this is a simple example of what Dharma is, do the right thing. Or in Hawaii here, the Hawaii state motto is the life of the land is perpetuated in righteousness. And so this is like, again, a dharmic, within Sanskrit and Vedic culture, this is a dharmic idea, the life of the land, the life of the people is perpetuated through dharma, or right action, doing the right thing. The Mahabharata is a story of a struggle essentially between good and evil, and contained within this story is lots of other stories. So stories within stories within stories, and this is why the Mahabharata is 100,000 verses long. So, but the Bhagavad-gita, consisting of 700 verses, is spoken at the climactic moment in the story of the Mahabharata. So, on the one side there's the Pandavas headed by Maharaj Yudhisthira, and on the other side there's the Kurus headed by Duryodhana. And this conflict that I mentioned about who is the rightful ruler of Bharata or India is eventually comes down to a massive armed struggle and a battle called the Battle of Kurukshetra. And the Kurukshetra actually now it's a place of great pilgrimage, about 100 kilometers or less north of New Delhi in India. And there is the actual place where Bhagavad-gita is spoken is there, and you can go and pay your respects and sit and contemplate upon Bhagavad-gita. So there's this big conflict between the two sides of the family, the Pandavas and the Kurus, and the third brother on the Pandavas' side is Arjuna, and Arjuna is like a fantastic warrior, and he's absolutely crucial to the side of the Pandavas. He's like one of the leading generals. He's a fantastic archer. He can shoot arrows with both arms, left and right-handed. And these arrows he has, they're not just regular bows and arrows, but they can be empowered with the mantra, and turn into different kinds of weapons. And so Arjuna has very much skill, and he's looked up to by his younger brothers and even his older brothers, and to all the soldiers taking place in this battle on the side of the Pandavas. So anyway, and Arjuna had as his charioteer his cousin brother, and actually his brother-in-law, and his good friend Krishna. And so it's a bit of a long story how Krishna ended up being Arjuna's charioteer. But anyway, Krishna did not want to take part in this battle as a combatant himself directly, and he became the charioteer of Arjuna, so the chariot driver. So at the start of Battle of Kurukshetra, Arjuna asked Krishna to take the chariot between the armies so that he could see who's come here to engage in this great warfare. And so as Arjuna is looking out over the opposing side, he sees his cousin brothers, he sees his grandfather, who has the name Bhishma, or is of the name Bhishma. He sees his military teacher, Drona Acharya. He's so anyway, he sees all different kinds and grades of relatives and friends and teachers and elders, and he just becomes overwhelmed by compassion, and he doesn't want to fight, and so he begins to give Krishna a number of different reasons about why he doesn't want to fight, and actually quite good reasons, right? Or what appear to be quite good reasons. So killing is bad, and there'll be lots of widows and unwanted children, because these widows will be taken advantage of by men who don't take responsibility for their children, and this will be bad for society, it'll be bad for the ancestors, it'll be, he comes up with 101 reasons as to why he doesn't want to fight. But of course this is like, a terrible situation when you have the great warrior who's an inspiration to all of the others warriors and soldiers on the battlefield, and you have the leader going, well, you know what? I don't want to fight. I'd rather go and live as a beggar than take part in this fight. I'd rather go, I'll just live as a beggar, essentially saying he'll become a wandering mendicant and just, engage in meditation or spiritual practices or something. In other words, he's like forsaking the duties of a warrior. And this is like devastating to everyone. And it's like, I was mentioning Dharma, the idea of Dharma, or responsibility or duty, obligation. So he's completely like renouncing his duty or obligation and giving up the path of Dharma or right action. So anyway, so of course Arjuna has some appreciation that really he can't, he can't just leave, so he's like torn, he's in this internal quandary, what should I do? So anyway, so eventually, after coming up with all these reasons why he doesn't want to fight, he eventually turns to Krishna and says to Krishna, please instruct me. Please tell me what is Shreyas, or what is most all auspicious. What is the right thing I should do? That I've become confused about my Dharma. Please instruct me. Please tell me what I should do. What is the best thing for me? He says, Sishyaste aham sharimam tvam prapanam. So now I am a soul surrendered unto you. Please instruct me. So in essence, Arjuna became like an empty cup. Up to this point, he's just been speaking, and he's saying he's just been speaking so much and acting like he knows everything. He's even quoting the different scriptures as a basis for him not to engage in this warfare. And he refers even to the disciplic succession, so the spiritual lineage of teachers, and he's using them as authority for using scripture and past saintly people as a reason for him to give up his duty, his responsibility of fighting in this war. So he gives this all up, and he gets to the point where he becomes like an empty cup, and he says to Krishna, please instruct me. Please tell me what is the right thing to do. So, this of course is the first lesson in Bhagavad-gita, that we need to approach a bona fide spiritual teacher if we actually want answers and solutions to the problems of life, and what is the purpose of life, and who am I, and why am I here, and why am I suffering? Why am I suffering from the threefold miseries of my body and mind causing me misery, right? My body has all kinds of health problems and pain, aches and pains, and beyond mere aches and pains, we get terrible diseases, cancer, heart problems, so on, so on and so forth. My mind is hassling me. My mind is, full of desires that I try to satisfy, and even if I satisfy them, I still feel dissatisfied and unhappy. It's like, oh, I got what I want, now I'm on to the next thing, and other living entities are hassling me, other people, insects, dogs are barking, chickens are crowing. Like I go for a walk every morning here in Kailua, and over the past few years there's been a bit of an invasion of wild chickens, roosters, and I went to Kauai like maybe 10 years ago. I don't go to Kauai very often, but I went a number of years ago, and everywhere you go there's chickens. There's chickens, roosters. Like you get to the airport, you go to pick up your rental car, and there's a whole lot of chickens there, and I remember the lady in the rental car station where you pick up the car, she was kind of like joking about the chickens, they're just everywhere. In fact, they're considered like the native bird, or whatever the right term is for, like, the kind of, like in Australia you have the kangaroo, right? It's kind of like part of the emblem. So similarly in Kauai they had the chicken. But anyways, a number of years ago, maybe 3-4 years ago, suddenly there started to be wild chickens on Oahu, and they started spreading. And actually, in a store I oversee, one day there was like a chicken. This lady was sitting there she'd bought some food and she was sitting at the table and she's eating, and then suddenly a chicken jumped up on the table and started pecking at her food. It was like, oh my God, what a problem this is, right? It's a massive problem. And anyway, so we had to deal with that. And but anyway, so I've been going for my walks in the morning, and now I walk up this hill, which is kind of like quite a steep hill. And from this hill you can look out and see over Kailua Bay. And anyway, it's like now there's a rooster. There's this rooster who's turned up there. And I walk early in the morning, so of course this rooster is crowing. So anyway, so the point I'm making is that we get, we have miseries caused by other living entities. So like if you're trying to sleep and you got this big rooster crowing, well, that's the end of your sleeping, right? And so this is like frustrating and annoying for people, but this in actuality is a minor annoyance compared to the annoyances that other living entities can cause us, to the point where, like, even in this struggle of Bhagavad-gita, where Arjuna is fighting his cousin brothers who are actually trying to kill him, so like a rooster crowing is just like a hassle, or the neighbors making noise is just a hassle compared to having to deal with other living entities who are trying to kill you. And then the third kind of misery we suffer from is that caused by natural and social forces. Earthquakes, hurricanes, pandemics, so had to throw pandemics in there. So this is just like, so we suffer from these threefold miseries. This life in this world is very problematic. So we can take from the teachings of Bhagavad-gita, we can take these teachings that Krishna gives to Arjuna, and we can apply them to our own life. So Arjuna is on a battlefield fighting against an opposing army, and we in our own life, we're in effect fighting our own struggles. We have our own struggles, both our internal mental struggles, and we have the struggle for existence as we try to live our life, and we try to, it's called the struggle for existence. Right? You're trying to get a job, you're trying to get money, you're trying to get an education, you're trying to get married, then you're trying to struggle so your marriage doesn't fall apart. You're struggling with your kids. The kids are so difficult. Life is just one constant struggle. Of course, it's not all just a struggle. There is, of course, some nice times as well. But generally speaking, life is a duality of sukha dukkha, which sukha means happiness and dukkha means distress. So we have some happiness and we have some distress. But so we have to, we don't have to, but we can apply these teachings that Krishna gives to Arjuna in Bhagavad-gita to our lives. So studying Bhagavad-gita or the yoga texts gives us transcendental knowledge. So this knowledge that Krishna speaks to Arjuna is transcendental knowledge, spiritual knowledge. And coupled with engaging in Kirtan, or the chanting of the transcendental sound vibrations, as we did before I've begun speaking, brings us to the ultimate goal of life. Right? The ultimate goal of life is to develop pure love for God or Krishna. And so this study of Bhagavad-gita will give us the knowledge and understanding that we need to understand who Krishna is, and chanting the transcendental sound vibrations, the names of Krishna, such as Gopala, Govinda Rama, or the Hare Krishna mantra. This will bring us to the goal of life. So I was going to discuss tonight, for not that long, a verse from Bhagavad-gita, chapter 15, text 7. Normally in these Bhagavad-gita classes I speak from at Yoga Kirtan Hawai'i, I generally speak on verses from chapter 2, which is like where Krishna first begins speaking and instructing Arjuna. So chapter 1 is basically Arjuna going through his meltdown where he doesn't want to fight. Chapter 2 is Krishna telling Arjuna, well, what's happening with you? Then Arjuna turning to Krishna, please instruct me. And then Krishna then begins to instruct Arjuna, beginning with the basic ABCDs of spiritual life or spiritual understanding. So we're going to jump to chapter 15. So this is kind of exciting. So this chapter 15 is called the Yoga of the Supreme Person, or Purushottama Yoga. So text 7, and I'll just briefly recite it in Sanskrit, which is the language that Bhagavad-gita is spoken in. Samama evamsa jiva loke jiva bhuta sanatanaha mana shastani indriyani prakriti stanikashati. So Krishna says, the living entities in this conditioned world, so this material world, are my eternal, fragmental parts. Due to conditioned life, they are struggling very hard with the 6 senses, which include the mind. The living entities in this conditioned world are my eternal, fragmental parts. Due to conditioned life, they are struggling very hard with the 6 senses, which include the mind. So as I mentioned, Krishna is Bhagawan, or the Supreme Person. Krishna is full of all opulences. And so in this first part of the verse, Krishna says, Mama evamsa jiva loke jiva bhuta sanatanaha. The living entities in this conditioned world are my eternal, fragmental parts. So, what is a living entity? So the word Krishna uses is jiva bhuta. So jiva refers to life. And wherever there is life, there is an atma, or a soul. You know, so we consider, well, as I mentioned, the question of who am I, right? So who am I? What is my essence? You know, who am I? What am I? And so this is, Krishna is describing here that in essence, the living entity is eternal. Right? We're an eternal life particle, or a jiva. Jiva means, as I said, life. So we are what's also known in Sanskrit as an atma, or a spiritual soul. So we're not this gross physical body, right? This gross physical body made of flesh and blood. This is not us. This is temporary. Like this material body lasts at most, 100 years, maybe a little longer, generally much shorter. Right? So this material body is temporary. But actually Krishna is saying here that we are sanatana. Sanatana means eternal. Right? So this body is temporary. So the body is not eternal. So Krishna is referring to us, the jiva, the spirit soul, that we are eternal. And Krishna, he also describes three words in this connection. Amsa, that we are a fragmental part. See, an amsa means a part. So we are a fragmental part. And but we are a part of what? Right? Krishna says that the living entities in this conditioned world are my eternal fragmental parts. So the idea here is that we are spiritual in essence, but we are not the Supreme Spirit. We are not God. We are not the Supreme Person. We are similar in quality. In other words, we are spiritual in quality, just as God is spiritual in quality. But we are very small. We are minute. We are just an amsa, a fragmental part. But God or Krishna, the Supreme Person, is big in quantity. Krishna is the source. Krishna states in Bhagavad-gita in chapter 10, text 8, Aham savasya prabhavo mata savam prabhatate. Everything emanates from me. Everything emanates from me. I am the source. Krishna says he is the source of everything. Right? So the living entities, the jiva, we are the fragmental part of Krishna. So just like there is a fire that has sparks, right? So the fire is like the source of all the sparks, right? Or you have the sun, and the sun, there's particles of sunlight or sun rays emanating from the sun. So the particle or the spark coming from the fire, or the particle of sunlight or the sun ray coming from the sun, they're non-different from the sun. Like a sun ray is part of the sun, and a spark coming from a fire is non-different from fire. But they are not the fire itself. The fire itself is separate from the particles of fire or the sparks of fire, and the sun is separate from the sunlight, in that it is the source of the sunlight, and so the sunlight is non-different from the sun, but nonetheless the sunlight is not the sun, and the spark of the fire is not the fire. So similarly, we are a spiritual spirit, soul, and atma, that we are an amsa, a fragmental part, coming from the Supreme Person, coming from Krishna, but we are not the Supreme Person. We are not the Supreme Soul. So we have, in essence, we are spiritual in essence. We are not this gross physical body. We're also not the subtle material body. The mind, the mind is like the software that goes with the body. The body is like the hardware, and the mind is like the software that runs the body. But we are actually spiritual in essence. We actually are not this subtle material body or the gross physical body. We're actually a spiritual spark, an amsa, a fragmental portion of the Supreme. In fact, Krishna describes it as being my fragmental portion. And Krishna also says here, Sanatana, eternal. So we are eternally a fragmental portion of Krishna. We are eternally individuals. It is not that, there's a popular conception that we're all God. But we are not God. We are not the Supreme Person. We are not God, the Supreme Person. We are actually as I was describing, we're like the sunshine, or a ray of sunshine, or a spiritual spark or a spark emanating from a fire. And Lord Chaitanya, an incarnation of Krishna and great teacher who appeared in India approximately 500 years ago, the philosophy he taught, or the idea he taught, was achintya bheda bheda tattva. So achintya means inconceivable, and bheda bheda means oneness yet distinction. So and tattva means philosophy or truth. So achintya bheda bheda tattva means inconceivably, simultaneously one yet distinct. And so this is our true nature, our true position. While we are a particle, a spiritual particle, we are, and in that sense we are one with the Supreme Person. Nonetheless, we are separate, we are distinct. And so this is our true position. We're not the Supreme Person. We're the dominated part and parcel. So we have our essence, we are spiritual in essence. My position, I am the dominated part and parcel. I'm not the Supreme. I'm spiritual in essence. I'm the same as quality as the Supreme Person, but I am not the Supreme Person. I am inconceivably, simultaneously one, yet different. So if we appreciating this understanding that, as Krishna says, we are sanatana, we're eternally a fragmental portion, a spiritual spark of life, then what is my function? What's the purpose of life? Generally speaking, we all think our function in life is, we take it from based upon our gender, our age, our occupation, our family status, whether I'm married or not married, or have children or don't have children. We see our function in life as based around this. Oh, I'm an accountant. Oh, I'm a husband. Oh, I'm a father. Oh, I'm a mother. Right? This is how we see our function in life. But if I am spiritual in essence and eternal, not just alive for 50 years or 60 years or whatever, but I am eternally alive, I'm spirit soul, I'm sanatana, eternal, then the question is, well, what is the purpose of life? What is my function in life? What am I supposed to be doing with my life? What am I trying to achieve? If we look at it from the body, from the perspective of the body, we may believe that the goal of life is to accumulate a bunch of money. Okay, so we work hard to accumulate money and get a nice house and live in a nice house, and then what? Oh, I die. I have to do it all again, take birth again, and have to accumulate it all again, start from nothing. So this is, so if we think we're the body, then it's kind of like becomes, people begin to think, well, this is a bit pointless. So the answer to the question I'm posing, what is my function? What is the function in life? Understanding that I'm spiritual in essence, that I'm not the Supreme Spirit, then what is my function in life? So my function in life is to develop my love and my relationship and to engage in service with the Supreme Person. Almost. And thank you very much for listening to this class. And, please take advantage of the opportunities that your Kirtan Hawaii offers. Please engage in Kirtan, chanting the transcendental mantras, the names of Krishna, which cleanse the heart and the mind, and will actually lead you to achieve actual self-realization. Please study the yoga texts and literatures such as Bhagavad-gita, and I invite you to attend all of Yoga Kirtan Hawaii's programs. So we have 3 yoga wisdom classes that we do live on Facebook Live. So on Tuesday night, actually just 2 dates from now, we'll have a yoga wisdom class entitled Soul Journey, a spiritual self-discovery. And on the following Tuesday, we have an experience meditation evening, which includes a yoga wisdom class, as well as teaching various processes of meditation. And then every 4th Sunday of the month, we have the Bhagavad-gita class. So all events are on Facebook Live. Please attend, and you can see the schedule of events at Yoga Kirtan Hawaii's Facebook page and websites. And so thank you for listening. And we'll do some more Kirtan now. So thank you very much. Haribol.
We'll just chant for a little while. I was going to chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. Should I say the mantra, do you think?
Sure.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. That's B major. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. You've done this one before. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Bo.